but our researchers, so blame them, they're at the back there. Right. They say they were in nursery when you first started managing.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah, thanks. That was their fact. So, and our producer said that, like, how do you change it up? You know, do you change your voice, do a French voice one week, do a Scottish voice the next week? How do you keep them interested?
That's a very good question, but I think you just move with the times. And as I said, when we first went there, we were in Division 3, and you get the players in, hopefully, that will do the job at that level, and you keep changing all the time. And if you look at this year, I've got a new assistant manager. Leo Morris was my previous assistant. He was with me for, I think it's 30 years, because obviously I had a job before I was at Wealdstone. Leo came with me, been absolutely fantastic.
Is this a full-time job?
No, I'm a teacher as well.
Okay.
So trying to fit both in and try and get up here for this time of night has been difficult, but still.
And then you just get abuse from the researchers, seriously.
Well, listen, I don't mind the abuse from the researchers because you actually paid me a compliment and that outweighs everything.
That's outweighed everything.
Even the lads over there have been very impressed by that, so I'm all right. You can throw whatever you want at me now.
Take anything, I'm not as wrinkly as Wenger, smashing it.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, you do change it up. And this year got a new assistant manager, Scott McLeish, ex-player, came into coaching, and he's been brilliant. Brought Steve Newing in as a coach. Obviously, I've already said, nothing at all to do with me. New chairman, new vice chairman, Nick Archer.
Yeah.
What about 7, 8 new players?
Yep.
Freshen the whole thing up. And that's what you need to do. If I'm going to stay around, I need to freshen up other places, you know. A lot of clubs tend to change the manager, change the personnel. It just so happens that I've been there a long time, and you realise that now and again you need to just spark and change little things to keep it going forward. And so far it hasn't been too bad.
We will find out what's changed at the club, but I think there's only 25 managers in the whole of the English League that have gone past the 20-year mark. What makes you want to stay for that long, and you know, how do you keep your interest going?
Right, first one to prove a lot of people wrong. I think when I went there, there was supposed to be a new ground within 2 years.
Yeah.
I think Paul Rumours has been here a couple of times, who's our ex-chairman, still president of the club. And he promised me when I came from Yeading that we'd have a new ground in 2 years. I think it was 15 years later, we ended up at Ruislip Manor.
Okay.
So
you were just waiting for 15 years.
Yeah, I'm a very patient person, I've got to say. No, look, it's been difficult. We've had a lot of trials and tribulations along the way. The club were in administration when I arrived. We had no ground, we had 2 players, and we were in Division 3.
You want to manage at Hull next?
And it was rock bottom, I don't know about that. And it has been tough, but you have to get over anything that's thrown your way, any challenges. Try and be positive and look for a way to get over them rather than whinge and moan about it. And I've tried to do that. And I think John will say, me as a manager, I'm not a ranter and raver, I'm not big enough, strong enough or anything else to be able to do that. But try and talk and try and make it a happy environment where people want to be, and people like John staying, as he said, 6, 7 years.
I mean, there's no pressure, but you're basically not allowed to leave.
Could get a 20-year mark as well.
I don't know about that. 20 years in goal, mate, you might be struggling.
There's a manager for you. Yeah, I don't know about that, bud. I don't know whether you'll see next game.
They might be able to wheel me along in a wheelchair, but not
me.
So what's the hardest decision you've had to make at Wealdstone?
I'll tell you what, I'll say the one I regret most. We had a lad called Fergus Moore.
Yeah.
And I signed him very early when I got to Wealdstone, and then I released him. I thought we got to a stage where, you know, we could move him on and we would be better. I got that one wrong. A little while later, I signed him back, and then eventually I said he could go out on loan somewhere. And his words to me, he said, "If I go out on loan, you'll forget all about me." And I said, "No, I won't." I did. Because you're working so hard with your own side.
Yeah.
And he couldn't have given more for a Wealdstone shirt. And in fact, out of all the players I've probably ever had, I think he epitomises what you really want. I'll be the first one, not the greatest player, but I'll tell you what a determination and desire for that football shirt. And it sounds like I'm trying to sell a book, but I wrote a book.
It's all right, Gary's going to do that in a bit.
Right. I wrote a book about 5 years ago, and he wouldn't talk to me. And I actually put it in the book and apologised. And eventually I phoned him and said, "Ferg, listen, I think we better, you know, try and kiss and make up.
Yeah.
I'll I'll send you one of my books because I've written an apology in there. He said, good, I need some toilet paper. But since then, it's got over it. We've been out, he's played a couple of games for us and things like that, and we're back to being mates. So I'm pleased with that because in all my time in the game, I don't think I've made too many enemies. And so that was my biggest regret,
Okay.
and that was a decision.
Okay, interesting. Now I'm going to ask you in a minute, because we're going to head to break in a bit, what you think of Mourinho at the moment, because I suppose he's been doing a bit of that, pulling players back and seeing. But what's the future for Wealdstone, just quickly?
I think it's very positive.
Okay.
You know, we've said top half of the table by Christmas, if we could push on to the playoffs. But over the 2 years, we want to be knocking on the door of the conference as of next year.